We are heading down the home stretch of another UFL season. Heading into week 7, all 8 teams are trying to still punch their ticket to be one of those 4 playoff teams. Uh, who's hot and who's not? We're going to talk about it all. It's the bottom line, and the podcast starts now.
And that's the bottom line. You want a war? You're gonna get one.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
We are back. And I'm not even going to waste any time because once again, we got a news-filled show on the bottom line. And so let me bring in my 2 counterparts. We got Brett the Hitman and KJ. How's it going, fellas?
Doing lovely.
Another day in paradise.
Did you guys
Living the dream.
Did you guys see my score from Louisville last weekend?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so did Schmeagle. My precious.
Oh my God, it was I had 5 distilleries I went to on Friday.
You had the master hall, yeah, that's for sure.
Did 2 distilleries on Saturday and a winery to keep Mama Bear happy. So yeah, I spent Sunday driving back home just ready to dry out a little bit.
You sent me that picture, and I sent it to Marty, my buddy Marty. Of course, he's always watching the show and with me at the games. And I think he said, "Wow," because we were at the watch party, and I said, "Yeah, that's." And I said, "This is the picture I made for Ed," and he started laughing. He said, "Did Ed buy all that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I believe that's his house." I don't think he stole any of it.
Yeah, that was just the liquor. That didn't have anything to do with the stuff that I bought for old fashions and ice makers and ice stamps, and oh my God, it was an ordeal. But anyway, just talking briefly because it's going to be our first game we get into. The Thursday night game in Louisville, the weather was absolutely beautiful for the game. And you talk about a nice stadium, and it overlooks the sunset. So you're sitting there in your seat watching the sunset, but sun was kind of in your eyes there for about the first half hour of the game. But I was not complaining. Was not complaining. It was a beautiful night. Nice crowd too.
I would have been more complaining about people blowing horns in my ear. That would have been a confrontation.
Actually, I was kind of surprised that we got away with that as long as we did. They put a stop to that just before halftime, and then the second half, the fans just yelled constantly, and I think the Louisville crowd that was in our section was so broken down from listening to that damn horns blow the whole first half that they just wanted some peace and quiet. So when the fans kind of started getting loud there that second half, I think they were just done with it. So
they probably just wanted to cry in silence, Ed, since they couldn't seem to muster up a score after that field goal.
Yeah, let's talk about that game. You looked at, I was looking at some of the stats because, it was a pretty dominating performance by the St. Louis defense. But I got to looking at their rushing. They had 13 rushes for 12 yards. So you're thinking, well, what was their longest run? Well, they had a 17-yard run in there. So if you take that 17-yard run out of there, they had 12 carries for -5 yards in their rushing game.
Damn.
I mean,
Looking back on my pick, and I did this because, I like the new teams, and I'm pulling for the new teams and their fan bases. We want to grow the fan bases, looking at the league aspect. And then, of course, it's not a secret that some St. Louis fans can get under my skin. Not all. But the first 2, 3, 4 offensive plays, I was like, yeah, this ain't going to work. Because St. Louis is so well coached, and they've got such a dominant front seven. You can't tip your hand and let them know what plays you're going to run. And that's basically what Louisville did all night. I mean, you could tell by the formations 9 times out of 10 where they were running and if they were running. And you're not going to tinker with St. Louis like that. St. Louis' defense is too good for that.
Yeah, it's funny because I was, we always text as a crew during the game. And so Brett just getting a little bit more hot as the game went on because there just wasn't, Louisville couldn't do anything on offense. And finally, Brett just, what was it, about the end of the third quarter, you just said, "Night, fellas."
Well, what really got me stirred up was, and I guess I'm old curmudgeon, I don't like loud noises. And I kept hearing those damn horns on TV, and I thought, if they're getting on my nerves through the TV.
Oh, yeah, you can hear them during soccer
games.
Games too.
And I asked Ed, message Ed. I said, Ed, because I just knew the answer. I was hoping I was wrong, but I just knew the answer. I said, Ed, who the hell's blowing them horns? Ed said, we are. And I said, and it just kind of went from there.
The funny thing about that is there was only about 4 or 5 horns. That was it.
Those things were loud.
They were making that much noise. Just those 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, if y'all want a good barometer, if you don't watch any European soccer, I'd encourage you to watch even a European football league game. The American football.
It's unbearable.
I've watched some rain fire games last season, man, and I felt like I was watching a major league. What is it? Not Prime League, whatever the name of the stupid Premier League Cup is, or whatever. It's the whole damn time.
Oh, I mean,
it was. Now imagine the fans sitting below that.
Yeah,
a couple rows. I mean, I thought it was a school night, so I was impressed that all the fans that waited that whole game, waited it out. only to find out that Derby weekend is so big in Louisville that they call off school on Fridays and Mondays.
Wow,
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Me and a fellow Stallions fan was talking about those horns, and he brought up to me, because I was just steadily complaining about it. He brought up to me, he said, man, you ever been to Starkville? He said, it's amazing how they let them get away with that, because Starkville's got those damn
The fan base has
cowbells
it down to a disciplined science, though. It is the most. I mean, they're as well regimented as freaking College Station's Corps of Cadets. Like,
And you know how far their stadium is from my house? Hour and a half. I used to run a location over there in Mississippi in Columbus, which is 30, 45 minutes from Starkville. I have never been inside that stadium, because I swear to God, I know how I'd react with all those damn cowbells. Someone would get attacked by said cowbell, and someone would end up in the pokey. And so and Alabama's played Mississippi every year my whole life, and I ain't been to Starkville not one time, and I'm not going over there and listen to that shit.
It was a fun experience the one year I went. My pastor from Memphis, when I still lived there, was an alum from Mississippi State, and I went down for an LSU game when they played them at home, and my ears were definitely ringing for like 30 minutes after the game. But I mean, it's just, there's nothing like it. It's as unbearable as it is. It's also like, you have to appreciate it too if you're a purist football fan.
50 or 60,000 people, Ed, with cowbells.
Yeah.
I mean, no. That is my definition of hell. If I don't start getting myself right before I go to the other side, that's where the man needs to put. That is my definition of hell.
Under the field.
Bury me at the 50 and just, you know.
Well, thanks all you guys for joining. John, Excalibur, Robert, Chad, Marty. Glad you joined us. St. Louis defense, 6 sacks. And what was crazy about it is when you look at the stat sheet, it's 6 sacks, but it's like 10 different players with halves and whatever. So it wasn't just him getting sacked by one lineman. It was like just the line converging on the quarterback all night long. So we won't spend too much time. That game seems like it was ages ago. Shoot, it'll be a week tomorrow already. That game was over.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? I kind of like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where you got a game every day, but I get that's probably not best for attendance and things of that nature and viewership.
Well, it sounds like the Derby Classic's going to be on Thursday night going forward. The coming years, it is a nice kickoff. I thought the distilleries and the wineries would be big time packed, especially on Friday, the day before, just so because everybody was looking for something to do. It was dead. I couldn't believe it. Any future trips to Louisville now, I'm going to try and do it on Derby week. I walked into distilleries and I basically had carte blanche access to everywhere. Didn't have to wait in line. Went in the restaurant, sat right down and ate. It was crazy. Absolutely.
I think a lot of it, we talked about it privately. A lot of it's probably the current state of the economy and just expenses of everything right now. And it's been like that for a few years.
So we're tailgating. And who sets up a little bit down from us? The Louisville Kings Corner podcast. And so we struck up a conversation, and they knew you, KJ. Then one of the guys said, "Yeah, I talked to a guy. He's got initials or something like that."
I think they tried to get me on their show earlier in the season. And they had reached out to me about it. I was like, yeah, I'm totally down. And then the day they messaged me, I think it was like super early in the afternoon, and I was in the midst of doing something. I didn't see their message until like an hour or two later. By that point, I guess they do their shows, I think, pre-recorded, I want to say, or at least it seemed like that based on the timing they said. I apologize if I'm misspeaking there for them, but yeah. And so I missed the opportunity, but definitely open to doing it in the future. I know we would all love to kind of help them out. Just Brett said, help the new teams, help the league.
So I was all set to be on their show. And before I went on, I said to Mama Bear and the guys I was tailgating with, I'm going to run across the street, go get my credentials, and then I'll come back. And because I'm going to go on the King's Corner podcast. Well, when I got over to get my credentials, I couldn't leave.
Oh, no.
And I didn't have any of my, so I had to get hold of Mama Bear. So she had to bring my stuff across the street and all that. So I didn't get to be on the show, but they had, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, there's a fan of the Battlehawks. He goes by Captain Hawkeye. He wears the blue. He wears the blue and white mohawk. Let's just say he sat in for me, and he was quite a few in at the time. Let's just say.
He brought the life to the show.
he brought life to the show, and I think they enjoyed it. But yeah, language kind of started getting away from them, I think, so they had to let it go.
They were looking at each other like.
I can imagine the St. Louis fans are probably the Philly of the Midwest, so you gotta brace yourself.
So the Battlehawks come away with a big win. If Louisville could have pulled it out, they'd have been in a tie for the last playoff spot. But the way it turns out, St. Louis has got a 2-game lead now. They are the number 2 seed for the time being. But let's move on to the next game. And KJ,
hey, are we going to talk about the news real quick, or?
Oh, you want to talk about that now? We can talk about that now.
It's up to you.
Well, Harrison Frost for the game. Harrison Frost went 22 for 40, 236 yards, and 2 touchdowns and interceptions. So you're thinking, 79.4 passer rating, nothing to write home about. But it was just like there's no spark there. So in the post-game presser, I couldn't help but ask Coach Prohl, if he ever thought about at least putting Luis Perez. See, I said that. KJ, someday you'll say it like I do.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
But anyway, so that was followed up by another question on the same subject by James Larson. And I think Coach Prohl had kind of had enough. The press conference didn't last much longer, other than him finishing by saying that Harrison Frost was his quarterback. But then we found out today that Luis Perez is taking over the reins, and he is now going to be in the saddle for the St. Louis Battlehawks, which I think makes a lot of sense because he's got some sea legs to get back. He hasn't been out there for a while, and they're in a pretty good spot. So this gives them 4 regular season games to get primed up before the playoffs get here, which St. Louis will hopefully still be a part of. But what's your thoughts?
Man, it was time. We had talked about it during the game Thursday night in our chat. We thought it was time. Let's give him a shot. I mean, my goodness. He's a spring king, and he was sitting on the bench in Dallas, and they obviously traded him a week too soon. And I know they're regretting it now. And, St. Louis has got either the best or second best defense in the league, and they're still struggling to score points. So it was definitely time for Perez to be given a shot. Give him a couple games. St. Louis is definitely going to be in the playoffs. They're not collapse. They've got too much talent, too good a defense. So, it's typically once you get to the playoffs, it's who's hot, who's healthy. We've seen that before. When Luis was in Dallas and he got the Renegades somehow in the playoffs that year, and they got hot, caught fire, and DC was a heavy favorite in San Antonio for that XFL championship game, and it was a great championship game with a good crowd at the Alamo Dome, and Dallas took home the title. He might be taking home another title here in the next few weeks.
Hey, Sandy. Hey, Brock. Thanks for joining. Excalibur makes a good point here. Rather than rush him right into the starting lineup before he was ready, he had a couple weeks to get familiar with the playbook. And so probably it's probably in his best interest that this is going down the way it did, because what I did notice in the pregame and during the game, Perez was pretty involved in what was going on. So that's what led me to believe that I thought he'd get some playing time last Thursday. But
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised, to your point, Ed, if they were contemplating putting him in even before the game started, and it was one of those things of let's just see how it goes. If it starts to get too close for comfort in the scoring margin, element, they would maybe give him a chance. But I think regardless, whether you look at last week's matchup or this upcoming week's, these are two prime, while obviously we all know the talent level between teams is very close, you can't argue the fact that they've established a good lead in positioning in the playoff hunt from a semi-secure standpoint. So in that sense, these are the prime weeks that if you want to give another quarterback, a seasoned vet, no doubt, a chance to shine and redeem himself and possibly produce better results than Frost, this is, a prime week to do it, I think. So,
yeah. Well,
we'll go with the other news.
Brett's all about the news. We got a recap. What do you
Sure, Brett, go ahead. What other news do we got?
Well, the news is Rapoli said in Louisville right before the Kentucky Derby, did a bunch of interviews, a couple days before the interviews, or a couple days before the Derby itself. And we are supposed to have team/player jerseys by the end of the year, and you will be able to alter them. You will be able to change the numbers. You will be able to change the names. I haven't verified any of this information with him, but obviously this is an interview. I saw it myself. So I know it's late in the game. I'm aware of that. A lot of fans have asked. They've been asking on X and Facebook and everywhere. So this is we're going into week 7. So it should be the next week or two where we'll actually be able to buy jerseys finally. One more thing, and I'm done before Ed kills me. All right. We all know when Mike took over the league, it was like July. And notice what I said, he took over. I mean, it's been rather obvious and evident that he's the man in the big chair now. Well, typically if you're in business or, if you own a company, whatever, you usually have partners, things of that nature. If you want control of said company, you got to have 51%. Well, obviously Fox has still got some stake in the game. Redbird, Danny, I'm assuming Dwayne, although don't even get me started on Pebble, aka Rock. But he even said it, he debated and he thought, before he cut the check, and this is what he said, how we need to do this, how we need to do that, and that he was 51%. So whatever, I'm sure eventually it'll come out what kind of money Mike invested in the league from the get-go, but he is the man, and which I know it's kind of rather obvious. This isn't breaking news, but it's official from what he said in that interview that he is a 51% owner, which it's exciting to me because he just seems all in, and he's so transparent. And, he just shared a tweet earlier for, an hour before the show that, I mean, it's just neat stuff like this. And those are the two.
You mean this tweet here, Brett?
That's it.
We are on the
That's the
cutting
truth.
edge, my friend. We are on the cutting edge.
We're in like Flynn. He talks about, and he's owned it from day one that they really, unfortunately, he hasn't ran a sports league before. So he even admitted he had no idea the demand in merchandise. Because, we all want our hats and our flags and our banners and our jerseys and our footballs and our tumblers and our, koozies and just on and on and on and on. And now, which he's excited about it. I've seen him in other interviews say, hey, it's great. We're going to do a hell of a lot more in merchandise sales than what I had ever imagined. It's just getting the merchandise in. And unfortunately, it didn't happen before the season started. But I think moving forward, Mike's in control, and I got a lot of faith in him. So those are the two things that I just couldn't wait to share was that the jerseys are coming, and that he's Mr. 51%. He is the main man. He is, I won't necessarily say what we said down here in the South years and years ago, but he's in charge. Large and in charge.
Well, like he says here, for those who can't read it, we're 6 weeks in and we have a lot more work to do. But the good news is we are up in every major metric over last year. Viewership, tickets sold, gate attendance, sponsorships. And I know sponsorships has been a big item.
Definitely.
I mean, it seems like every week you're seeing another sponsor
You
for
have to
the
be ignoring the
UFL. And
announcements
so
like
you know how
that.
sponsorship money comes in. That can be
Right.
a real game changer. You start getting that money coming in. And then he mentions merchandise. He says, even though we know we've let fans down here, but he says overall it's called progress. So I have to agree. I mean, it says now we must do a better job in our local markets and continue building passionate fan bases city by city. So just the fact that you hear him acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of work to be done in the local markets lets you know that, because let's face it, in the prior couple of years, did you ever hear him talk about local markets and advertising and whatever?
Those two words were not used together ever by anyone.
Yeah.
So it's I feel really good about the direction of the UFL. It's kind of a breath of fresh air to know that the league is here to stay, and there's not that off-season turmoil of are they coming back, are they not coming back. Now, if we can just get stability in the markets where the teams are going to be,
Right,
and not be moving around, that's the next step. And I still, it seems like it's still a distance away yet, but I still look for. It would be nice to have local or individual team ownership to where we can actually have the teams move to the cities that they play in instead of having the central hub. But I know that we got to be responsible and do it the right way. So eventually we're going to get there.
But it's a reason why I wanted to touch on this, and this is what really gets my ticker going and gets my hair standing on it, is he's so passionate about it. I mean, he sounds like one of us. He sounds like us talking privately about the league or how we talk backstage before a show or after a show. He's so hungry and thirsty for the knowledge that it's going to take to be successful. And he's mentioned that over and over and over again. And like Ed said, it's a huge breath of fresh air because I don't know what the hell they were doing the first 2 years, but I mean, it's over with. Now we move forward.
So now are we ready to move on to the next game, Brett?
we'll have a GoFundMe after the show for Brett's T-shirt that says Mike's #1 fan.
So the next game we had, the Friday Night Light game, Houston went to Columbus, and boy, what could have been. Houston ends up losing just by a touchdown, but they got themselves behind the first half. Then weather moved in, which didn't help anything either. So why don't you give us your thoughts on this game, KJ?
Yeah, this one was quite the knockdown, drag-out game. Really, I mean, all the way up until the end. I mean, they were in contention. I think to Ed's point, we did play, unfortunately, from a deficit majority of the game. Columbus did a good job of essentially taking that lead and commanding it and holding on to it for the duration of the game. But I think what I saw in terms of play was very encouraging. I think the one downside, which really I would say out of other minimal mistakes you might have been able to nitpick and pinpoint, I think us losing Nolan there at the end didn't help matters. I think his finger got re-agitated, so they ended up trying to bring in Tugalo, or however you pronounce his name.
Talia. Talia.
I forget I can pronounce his name right. To his brother or younger cousin, whatever he is, to him. It did not go well, and no surprise there, as we've seen his gameplay through the several weeks of the season. In other news, he got released, which I think was actually good to see. I was happy about that. Sad for him, obviously, individually, but for the team, I think it was the right move. We needed other guys in there, and I think the future is only more optimistic for us. I lost the battle, but I think I can still potentially win the war. The only thing we lost on the scoring margin there, but I think that Houston did a good job of at least keeping the game close and really playing all 4 quarters. So we'll see.
Well, I know they talked about the performance of Jalen McClendon, and he only finished the game 15 for 22 for 160 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So, he got some praise, but Houston's defense was able to pretty much keep pretty good rap on him.
Yeah, no, they definitely kept the pressure for a majority of the game there. I think that's what helped keep it to a one-possession matchup. It just wasn't something we could capitalize on there at the end. But I know with the this week's announcements and news that we've received, them picking up the apparent Mr. Plumlee, who allegedly, according to multiple sources, was the original intended QB1 for Houston Gamblers, which I can at least give credence to and taking for what it's worth, because he was with Pittsburgh. So, I mean, that makes sense why we weren't able to snag him, I guess, back in the draft and keep him, so to speak. But I would say, based on the timing of this being announced, assuming it's on the very, cusp of him actually getting actively signed, I don't know if it would be too audacious for us to expect him this weekend, because that just seems like a very expedited timeline, even giving him the credence of being an NFL guy who can pick stuff up quickly. I mean, you're talking less than a week. That's a lot. But if he does, I mean, that'd be all the better for Houston, obviously, without a doubt. But I think, beyond this weekend, having him in there hopefully will bolster our offensive proficiency just on its own. So.
Well, it had to be pretty frustrating for the Houston defense, because Houston, like I said, was holding them in check, but the Houston offense just couldn't get anything going. And I don't care what they say about Henderson's ability to play quarterback with a broken finger, but when your middle finger's broken on your throwing hand, I gotta believe that it affected the quality of his passing. I mean, he went 13 for 25, but only for $137. So there was there's a lot of room for improvement, let's say. And but again, one game out of the 4th spot. So Houston's one of 4 2-4 teams that are only one game behind a plummeting Dallas team. So
yes, Birmingham getting the win this weekend in some weird indirect way actually probably helped our chances stay alive. So I'll say that much.
So let's move along to the next game, which was Dallas going to DC, where DC pulled out a 24-6 win. I don't know about you guys, but Dallas actually had some pretty good drives in this game, but they shot themselves in the foot when it got down towards the red zone. And DC pretty much had this game, and it was a wrap at halftime. But so you can say, well, Dallas held DC the second half, and DC really didn't do anything. Well, they didn't have to do anything. So I think the old Fred Keiss pulled, keep the clock running, don't do anything stupid, and let the clock tick down on its own. So say what you want about, Jordan Ta'amu, again, another big performance. 20 for 28, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, passer rating of 116.2. As long as you have the quality of defense that DC has, and you couple that with an efficient offense, to put up 24 points on the board and you only had to throw the ball 28 times, kind of says it all. But you wonder, they always say, is DC peaking too soon? Well, when it comes to DC, I don't know that there is such a thing as peaking. I just think they're a quality football team all the way across the board. So,
agreed.
What do you guys think about that game?
Only thing I could say is to the broader fan base at large, and sorry to our familial native Texan front ends up the highway of 45, but I hate to tell you I told you so, but I told you so. Dallas was always my number one, I think, most overrated team outside of maybe Orlando from these first few weeks of the season. And, over the past 2 weeks, you could say they've started to get exposed. Things can always change, but they have not been trending in the right direction. We'll say that much.
That game was absolutely over at halftime.
Oh yeah. I stopped watching at a certain point. It felt too boring because DC
literally, they had players. And the bad thing about this is a million watch game. And this game was over at halftime. DC's players and Dallas's players going into the locker room, it was almost an altercation. They had to be separated, and all the DC players were, doing the belt to ass signal and I thought, my goodness, you don't talk about just cocky. It was halftime. They didn't have a worry in the world. And I thought, wow, what a bad look for Dallas right now.
Well, yeah, you look at the struggles Dallas has had in the passing game the last 4 weeks. But then you also look at their running game. Again, take away their biggest run, which was a 20-yarder by Dallas. The rest of the game, there was 15 carries for 30 yards, 2 yards a carry. So if you can't find balance in your offense and you put together that kind of a dismal rushing performance,
yeah,
well, good things aren't going to happen. That's for sure. So again, DC stays atop, number 1 in the league at 5-1. Let's get through this last game, and then we can start going into the remaining schedules and the playoff scenarios that might pan out. Next game was Birmingham going up against Orlando. Orlando's now on a 2-game losing streak. I know how bad AJ wanted this game, and face it, so did Coach Beck. They're they can hug at midfield and whatever, but we know better. So
I wouldn't call what they did a hug, but that's a nice.
And don't forget, DTR wanted this game bad too. There's a lot of bad blood in that game.
Well, I'd say, yeah. Talk about your chippiness from the Dallas DC game. This one had a lot of lip going back and forth between the squads.
Well, the big thing that stuck out was the 3 turnovers that Orlando had with the 2 fumbles with the exchange between the center and quarterback. And the one was, like I said, you drive the whole field, you get into scoring position, and then you turn the ball over on a stupid play like that. It's like that. It's so demoralizing to a team that's got a good drive going.
Yeah.
So again, as we've talked about Coach Beck for forever and a day, as far as his coaching style, I don't know about you guys, but I was on the road, so I didn't get to watch the game real close, but I was listening to it on sound. Fourth quarter, and then they had a fourth down. I know it was a fourth down. There was like 3 minutes left or something. And it's like, well, he'll go for this. He'll go for this. And he punted it. On a 4th and 2, he punted the ball, and I was like, wait, that's when I texted you guys, and I said, well, that was, they punted it on 4th down? How many yards do they have? And you said 2 yards. I about died. I mean, when you talk about conservative, that's about as conservative as it gets. I mean, when you go for it on 4th down earlier in the game, which to me is even more risky because you're in your own territory. You go for it on 4th down when you don't have to. But then when the game's on the line in the 4th quarter, then you go conservative. I don't.
Their psychology didn't work on them yet.
I thought it was coaching scared. And again, Birmingham still, to me, being a defensive guy, they've still got the same huge weakness they've had since week 1, and that's a lack of a pass rush. And I think the defense have kind of gotten their feet under them a little better, but ultimately they still don't have a pass rush. And I was floored that Orlando didn't go for it on 4th and 2, especially considering, I don't know what statistically is, but I guarantee you there's no team worse in the league this year on 3rd and long or 4th and long getting off the field, because our defense does not get off the field. Whether it's a pass interference, whether it's an offsides, whether a guy for another team makes a great catch, Birmingham just does not get off the field defensively on 3rd and 4th down. And me and Jay was talking about this during the game, and he was bashing me. Oh, the defense did good then. No, Jay, they didn't. I still think Orlando outgained us. They cost themselves 6 to 14 points by just fumbling the snap, like Ed said. Those were unforced turnovers. Now, yes, we recovered them. Grant you, we did that. And then Tizino forces another fumble with a peanut punch, which he is becoming famous for, to cause the 3rd turnover. But still, the only thing that's really changed with Birmingham is we've got a little bit more dynamic quarterback. We still could have been 3-0 before we got whooped these last 2 games. But to me, and AJ signed Crooks, another wide receiver, signed another tackle because our tackle's out. JoJo Tillery got hurt this weekend. AJ needs to find Birmingham another defensive lineman or 2 if he wants to make a serious run at the end of the season. But Birmingham lives another day, and like you said, we've got 4 2-4 teams. We're going into week 7, and every team is still alive for a playoff spot.
That is for sure. Let's take that off. Let's get into the players of the week. On offense, players of the week, Justin Ross with the Birmingham Stallions, 7 receptions, 135 yards, I believe, and a touchdown. Defensive player. Go ahead, Brett.
No, I was just going to say he was the kid that was drafted originally from the Bengals that ran like a 4.28 or a 4.3 in his 40-yard at the combine. So that was he's a problem if they can get him the ball. And finally, we've got a quarterback that's willing to throw the ball downfield.
Yeah. Defensive player of the week goes to Travis Feeney. Could have been any one of several. defensive linemen for that game. I know they brought Pita to the post-game presser, but Player of the Week honors goes to Travis Feeney, 4 tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. And I don't know what that last one is. Do you guys know what that is?
I can't read that.
Jesus. This is the old eyes are coming out. And
Oh, I got 2020, and I'm not even. I don't. Is that a pass breakup? What is that?
PBU, but I don't know that
Oh,
acronym.
pass breakup. He broke up a pass
Okay,
as well.
I figured out what the U was. Yeah, I was thinking
Alright.
pass block, but I couldn't.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
Sounds like, I mean,
special-
just from the numbers, he was all over the field. Goodness.
yeah.
Doing a little bit of
And
everything.
special teams player of the week goes to Battlehawks Ryan Sanborn, who was the punter. 6 punts, 39-yard average, which, you know, I had that average in high school football, so that's not that impressive. But he had a 53-yard for a long. He had 2 special teams tackles, so I don't even know if that's good either to have your punter doing the tackle. But no, congratulations to him. So that takes care of the players of the week. Let's go ahead and knock out the leaders through week 6. In passing, Austin Reed is still leading the bunch with 1,360 yards. Not a whole lot of shakeup there. I think that's pretty similar to what it was last week. For wide receivers, Hakeem continues to narrow that margin, but so is Mickens. Mickens been doing a good job. It seems like you hear his name more and more. So he's starting to make some waves.
You got to hold on to the ball.
Yeah. But, Tyler Vaughn is kind of really took a step back the last couple of weeks with Austin Reed struggling the way he has been. So, so much of the wide receiver performance is based on how well the quarterback performs. So, but he still leads the pack. Then with rushing, we got a new leader. Jarvian Howard is now leading the league in rushing, but it's too close to call. The top 3 rushing leaders are all within 13 yards each other. So still a lot of game left to be played to decide that. Sacks. Cam Gill is sitting at 6.5. I thought Pita would be in this group, but they took a half a sack away from him, so that dropped him out of the group. But
Ed, you see who else is on the list?
Yeah, your Nebraska ex-Birmingham Stallion,
Yeah.
Davis. And I tell you what, between him and Stallworth, those boys are taking care of business at that defensive tackle position. They are clogging up the running lanes, which is what you want to see. Whenever you can have your defensive tackles filling the gaps and occupying the offensive line, that gives Pita and Feeney a chance to speed rush from the outside and really cause havoc. So,
And Carlos was in Birmingham for 3 years, and AJ didn't protect him. Good job, AJ. I don't even know if we have 4.5 sacks on the year. Good job, AJ.
See, people, I'm not the only one that has QB or HC qualms with our team leader here. Everybody's got their own little panty thing to pick with the guy who's leading the squad.
You know how petty I am when it's an offensive guy that's the head coach. That news for you, AJ. Defense still wins championships, baby. Just saying. Ask Daddy Nick. Everybody take a shot, by the way.
Then for tackles, we got two stallions up there. You probably know who these guys are. Ty Crowder.
Bless their hearts, they've been on the field probably more plays than anybody else in the league this year because our defense can't get off the field on 3rd and 4th down. AJ, because we don't have a pass rush, AJ.
And what's funny about this is, like I said, the leading tacklers are leading tacklers for a reason. You've got all 4 2 and 4 teams.
Yep.
On the list here as the top tacklers in the league, so that only makes sense. That their time of possession warrants that they're out there for a lot of the game. And then interceptions. KJ, do you have an eyesight for that?
Major Burns at 2. We've got Sean Wade at 3 leading the pack. Corey Mayfield from Louisville's at 3 as well. And then no surprise on any of these groups that DC has a presence. Sam Kidd and I'm going to neuter his first name, Garyon Connolly, both sitting at 2 as well. So very active secondary guys. Major's been, I think, not only on the interception front, but he's actually broken up some key passes too over the last, I think, 1 or 2 weeks. Him and Hines both have been active kind of guys leading the charge in addition to Malik on the actual D-line. I'd be surprised. I mean, multiple of these guys will get signed, but for me and for those who in Houston who are seasoned fans, Malik, they know his name. He's been around for quite a while. If he didn't get a NFL opportunity this offseason, I would be stupidly surprised. Him amongst many other guys have played their balls off, so to speak, this season. So
let's go through some moves that were made this week. Birmingham signed an offensive tackle, former Renegade and former defender, Adrian Eli. Not sure I can say the last name, but
EIEIO.
so Birmingham got some help on the line. They also got some help at the wide receiver position by signing Elijah Cooks. Spent time with both the Jaguars and Eagles. You had Columbus. They signed Elijah Blades, quarterback. Then we had Columbus also signed a defensive end. Celestin Haba says he is back, so he must have been there earlier this year. So
yeah,
he's back with the team. Houston, like we talked about earlier, signed one of their original quarterbacks that they didn't get at the beginning of the season because he was protected by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL. But now he has been released, so he is back with Houston. There was also a trade that the Houston Gamblers got Javonta Payton from the Louisville Kings. In exchange, the Houston Gamblers sent Lonnie Phelps, defensive end, to the Kings. So it sounded like both those were more depth moves than they were starting help. But then go ahead, Brett.
Oh, well, not to step on KJ's toes, but Houston's probably got more drop passes this season than any other team. They have just between Monte Kirkland and a couple other guys. It has been very disappointing on the wide receiver front for Houston, and I think that was a good move. And probably, unfortunately, they probably should have made it sooner, trying to get a couple. I mean, they've got some names on that team, but they have just had a rough season at that position.
So then after the Houston Columbus game, I know Tua got hurt towards the end of the game there, but it was announced yesterday, the day before, that he's been released. So he's no longer with the Houston Gamblers. St. Louis, go ahead, KJ.
The one I was going to mention, we probably covered or may not, but I saw today they announced they also released Sam Castanova, who is the literal AF1 Arena Football MVP of the Albany Firebirds last year, who won the Arena Football Championship. For him not to get a chance to even touch the grass of a game day field is astounding to me. And I think once again reflects, unfortunately, on the lack thereof of just, I don't even know how to describe it, but just lacking wherewithal mentally from Coach Summerlin. I just don't get that, especially for nothing against Tualea, but like, for the struggles we saw of him on the game day, for the times he did get to play, why Sam never got a chance before they chose to release him after having him for several weeks, I don't know.
Personally, I don't think he could have been any worse than Talia. I mean, throw the kid out there and give him a chance,
Right, and especially for having that level of prowess and acumen in a previous league. I'll get it. Not everybody's going to give the Arena League its fair shake and chops, and that's understandable. But if you know anything about Arena football history, one of the all-time NFL Hall of Fame greats came from that league. And it was because of his literal speed and in terms of making reads and getting the ball out of release post snap. So, I mean, that alone right there could have been an incentive to our team. But sadly, Sam never got a chance to even prove his worth on the game day field. So
Louisville made a couple moves. They signed a former Battlehawk offensive tackle, Jawan Bushnell Beatty. He was, I think he was a starter for St. Louis for a couple years. So, again, they're trying to bolster their offensive line. They also signed a cornerback, DeAndre Prince. St. Louis, again, like we talked about earlier, brought back Abdul Beecham from last year. Released by Dallas. The final cut, he was released by Dallas, and they must have given up rights to him because St. Louis has now called him in. That's all the moves that I have for this week. I did see a couple late ones go through, but for essence of time, I didn't get those. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. When we come back, we're going to get into Brett's power rankings. We will be right back. So I know that I've showed the Wild Sun commercial for a long time, the same one, but be interested to know that I've got a hold of somebody that's going to start working on some new commercials for me for Wild Sun. So it's going to be kind of nice to have something different for a change. Before we get to Brett's power rankings, though, the league also gave out details of the championship rings for the DC's championship last year. And so let's take a look at the top of the ring. It's a nice, classy looking ring, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it.
But the good part about it is it looks like they personalized each ring.
Yeah.
Because here's Jordan Ta'amu's ring. and it's got his name on the side. That's pretty cool. So, that was last year. I'm really interested to see, Mike Rapoli puts his hand in on the championship rings for this year. Well, who knows? It might just have a bunch of horses going around it or something. I don't know, but we will see, I guess. Let's see. Let me find the power rankings because there should have been some movement in there.
I got a closer look at that trophy, the new trophy today, by the way. Can't remember the guy's name. KJ, you're younger. You remember names better. It's the guy that does the UFL YouTube page. Where is it Anthony? He does for the league, anyways. In his studio, he had the trophy, and he doesn't look like a small guy, but he said it's a lot heavier than it looks. And you got a real up close look at it. That new trophy's nice. It really is. I'm glad that Rapoli. Hey man, Mike, super fan. I'm Mike's super fan. I'm a UFL super fan. I hope, but Mike, I'm your number one fan. If you need an assistant, a bag boy, whatever. Next time you're in the South and you need someone to speak redneck for you, you can decipher what's being said, what's going on.
That is true. He is a purebred Yankee, so you could be his.
Yeah. I got you back, Mike.
I was pretty bummed out because I thought I was going to get a chance to meet him because I was on the field before the game.
I did too.
And it turned out that I was on the opposite side of the field from him both times. So I guess it wasn't meant to be, but someday I will. So let's part the Red Sea and let's get Brett's power rankings heading into week number 7. Take it away, Brett.
I mean, everybody already knows. I've seen so many different versions of everybody's power rankings. Only one that I kind of raised an eyebrow to, and that was the newsroom. I don't quite know what in the hell they were doing, but either way, look, the DC is who we thought they were. They are who we said they were before the season started. Other than losing the close game in St. Louis week 1, they have not disappointed to me. They've just gotten better and better and better. Same story with St. Louis. I hate to keep tooting my own horn, but if y'all remember my preseason rankings, I think those two were in the top 3, and who you see at the bottom there was also in the bottom 3. Could be mistaken, but I don't think so.
He also had Birmingham number 2.
Well, they might eventually get number 2 next year, the following year, the year after. I didn't specify what year. But look, St. Louis is very similar to what they were last year. They're just missing a quarterback. Aha! Now we fixing to see the King of Spring, Luis Perez, the man, the myth, the legend, learned how to play quarterback on freaking YouTube. He's wrote a book. You gotta pull for this guy. The fact he's maybe, now that he's with St. Louis, I guess I can still, anyways. That's all St. Louis has been missing the last 2 years as a QB. Let's see if he can take St. Louis to the mountaintop and surpass DC. But right now, that's my top 2, and it's not even close. Orlando could have very easily beat Birmingham this weekend. Had some self-destructing, some, again, conservative play calling by the head coach. Imagine that. Thank you, Anthony Beck. Appreciate you. Because you gave Birmingham another life, literally. Because we were about to flatline there in Orlando. I got them at 3, and then 4 through 8 at this point. I mean, who the hell knows? I will say this: if you held a gun to my head right now, and the bottom 5 teams played in a round robin in a neutral site, I'm saying Dallas is coming in last. They're that cold. They are talk about falling off a cliff. I mean, after the first couple of weeks, you know, a lot of us thought, could they compete with DC? Now, KJ didn't because he don't like them because they're from Dallas. So I'm not even going to touch that. I'm not even going to give that credence because that's just good old-fashioned hate. And I respect that. But that was just hate involved. Dallas has got a huge, huge problem. And offensively, if they're going to get it going, unfortunately it's going to be in Birmingham Saturday night because Birmingham they do not have a pass rush. I mean, statistically, it's got to be the worst in quarterback pressures and sacks in the league. I'll try to find out in the next couple of days. And then Louisville and Columbus and Houston. You know, Houston's problem all year has been a quarterback. Let's see how fast they can get this Plumlee going. Columbus, I like what I'm seeing out of Haley with some of his play calling. Right now, I would definitely say out of the 2 and 4 teams, maybe give me Columbus. I'm not going to pick, Birmingham because they're my team. But you could just literally put the last 4 teams in a hat right now. They've all got strengths, they've all got weaknesses, but hey, everyone is alive for the playoffs right now. And that's my crazy week 6 going into week 7 power rankings.
So I've been scrolling the remaining schedule on the screen while you were doing your power rankings to show who the remaining schedule is for these teams. Let me put up the week 6 standings. That's where we currently stand. So like we talked about, Houston, Columbus, Louisville, and Birmingham all sitting at identical 2 and 4 records. Dallas, who seems to be on a free fall, is only 1 game ahead at 3 and 3. Now, when we look at the remaining schedule for these teams, for the moment, let's take the top 3 out of there because, you got to believe unless one of these 3 have a total collapse, that these are probably 3 teams that are sitting pretty good for being 3 of the 4 teams. So for the 4th spot that's left, let's look at the remaining schedule. Who has the best shot? Who's hot? Who's not? When you look at Birmingham's remaining schedule, home against Dallas, Columbus, at Columbus, and Houston. So Birmingham doesn't play any of the top 3 teams right now in the remainder of their schedule, and they're playing all the teams head-to-head that they need to beat to get to that 4th spot. Talking to AJ in the presser yesterday, he has pretty lofty expectations. I talked to him about his feelings on getting a new lease on the season after a 1 and 4 start to be basically 1 game out of the 4th playoff spot, and he said he doesn't look at the 4th spot. He's looking at running the table. He says, if we run the table, he goes, I'll get the number 3 seed. So pretty lofty goals. Brett, do you think that with the Dallas, Columbus back-to-back and a Houston, do you think they can run the table there? Or do you think there's at least 1 loss in there somewhere?
No, I was asked this question by 2 different people going down the road before the show even started. And Birmingham could absolutely go 4-0 in those games. But with the habits I've seen and the weaknesses that we still have, I could see us going 2-2. I don't think we'll lose 3 out of 4. But, I do think 2-2 is possible, and that means we're not in the playoffs. But I could absolutely – is Birmingham good enough to win those 4 games? Oh, yeah. Yeah, but we've still got to clean up some stuff. And I don't know if AJ needs to contact Moneyball what we used to, you know who I'm talking about, KJ, our ex GM that is now at Sacramento State. I don't know. He needs to phone a friend and find a couple defensive linemen, because if he does that, we're a formidable bunch now. But we're not going to get where we want to be or even have an opportunity at it with the defensive line we currently have. And I hate to keep beating that dead horse, but I'm going to beat it like a Cherokee drum because it's fact. So, I wish so. Hey, somebody call me, text me, give me AJ's number, give me his address. I'll run over there and talk to him. Let's get this going, Stallions Nation. We got a chance here. But yeah, Birmingham, they can absolutely run the table. But
so let's look at Dallas. Dallas's remaining schedule: at Birmingham, they play at home against Orlando, at Louisville, and at St. Louis. I mean, for them to be kind of taking on water.
I definitely, to Brett's point, I see more of a likely 2-2 finish for them than I even do Birmingham in that instance. For me, I think Columbus honestly probably has the better scheduling for the remainder of the season, second only to maybe Birmingham. Just from the standpoint of, I mean, we've seen Columbus now twice this season in their back-to-back matchups that they've had. Make the corrections, albeit maybe by slim margins, but make the corrections needed to at least win one out of those two head-to-head matchups. And to Brett's point, without major adjustments or just habitual changes seen in gameplay execution on the field, I would bet right now, pun intended, that they would replicate that against Birmingham in their head-to-head matchup with them. I don't know how Brett feels there, but that would be my deduction, at least from which game I would have to pick out of Birmingham's schedule that would be a loss.
Yeah.
So looking at Columbus, then, they got, like you said, the home and away with Birmingham. They finished with Louisville. That makes, in Columbus's situation, that makes this Friday's game huge for them against St. Louis.
100%. Yep.
Yeah,
Same thing I'd say for Birmingham, to Brett's point. Like, these are must-win games for both of those teams, I feel like, to get the vibrato and momentum they need to get in through the rest of the season.
I think it's a must-win for Dallas, too, with their upcoming schedule when you look at it. If they end up 3-4 leaving Birmingham, what was the remaining schedule, Ed? Orlando, St. Louis, and who?
Birmingham was Dallas, Columbus, Houston. Wait a minute. Did I?
No, Dallas.
Oh, you wanted Dallas. Dallas was at Birmingham, at home against Orlando, at Louisville, and at St. Louis.
See, they leave Birmingham 3-4 with those three games left. I think Dallas is done. It's a must-win for Dallas and for Birmingham Saturday night, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So looking at these schedules, let's say Columbus. Let's say Columbus goes 2-2. If they go 2-2, that makes them 4-6. That's not good enough. So even if they go 3-1, that gets them to 5-5. Are you guys under the opinion that fourth spot, it's going to take a 5-5, or do you think it's going to take a 6-4?
I think at this season, I mean,
5-5 might be enough this year. It really might.
I think he's Brett right there, based on what we've just acclimated with and projected with Birmingham. I definitely could see 5-5 being a tiebreaker finish between your 4 and 5 spot teams, depending on who it is.
So if that 5-5 is doable for Columbus, they definitely have to beat Louisville, split with Birmingham, and then they have to win against St. Louis this Friday night to have any chance, I think. Then you look at Houston's remaining schedule. Houston's probably got more of the gauntlet of any of the teams that are left. They've got Orlando, they've got back-to-back with St. Louis, and then they go to Birmingham.
The one saving grace I'll say for Houston, because I can definitely I won't try to play the extreme audacious pipe dream of a power play and say we sweep St. Louis. I don't think that's happening on any given Sunday. But given that being a back-to-back and us having new life at the quarterback position, if Plumlee can come in and somehow really inject a spark of life into our team, I mean, there's no doubt I think we could pull up an upset win in one of those theoretically, and that would be a necessity for us to have any chance, because I think it's a blessing in disguise in a sense that we play Birmingham at the end of the season, because it would give Plumlee that much time to really build up his momentum, his gumption, his wherewithal with the team. And we could essentially have that, which I think this would probably be, albeit I know the Gamblers haven't been the brand for as long as the entirety of spring football, but Brett may recall this. I've done the historic research even before we started the season. I don't think Houston, the Gamblers, have ever sweeped the Stallions in a season. They've always had at least one upset in seasons where they've played them more than once, but there's never been a season where Houston has swept Birmingham in every matchup they've had against them in one season of play. So
No, Houston's always given Birmingham trouble since spring football came back a few years ago.
And then the last remaining team of the 2 and 4 teams is Louisville. Their remaining schedule is back-to-back with DC, then Dallas, and then at Columbus.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty daunting task. And, you know,
I think the back-to-back with DC pretty much spells the end, right?
Well, Chris Farley.
So, you know, even if they get swept by DC and won their last 2, that only gets them to 4 and 6. So,
Right.
I would say Louisville has got a pretty daunting task. And you know, if it was DC back to back in weeks 9 and 10, where DC had a chance to, you know, have the 1 seed
Let off.
wrapped up or the seed wrapped up, because really DC's only got to be the number 1 or the number 2 seed to wrap up home field advantage. So,
Right.
So, you know, if Louisville was hitting DC in week 9 and 10 when DC was resting players, or who knows what the situation was, maybe you could give them a chance. But with DC trying to still lock down the division and the number 1 or the number 2 seed, I think it's bad timing for Louisville. At the post-game presser with Louisville, I talked to Coach Redmond. He did say that he felt like St. Louis was probably the best team they played this year so far, but he still really thought that they were a potential playoff team. But you know, he's kind of made that comment for most of the year, and they let some games get away from them there earlier in the season. That's really coming back to bite them in the ass now. So, so realistically, out of the 5, if you got to choose one, which one are you taking, Brett?
I can't choose my team because I'm terrified I'm going to jinx them, and they just haven't proven it to me. They just have not. I mean, I've seen the potential on one side of the ball. I think we have finally secured a decent kicker. But again, there's 3 phases in football: offense, defense, special teams. Every one of these teams have got some strengths, and every one of them's got a weakness. I mean, I think Birmingham's toughest game, they're going to have a tough time Saturday night, and it's because their weakness is the pass rush. And if you give that quarterback at Dallas time, him and Vaughn, they have shown what they can do. So if Birmingham doesn't play near 100% Saturday night, Birmingham season will be over. I can't even answer the question, Ed. I mean, it really is such a toss-up right now, to me anyways.
KJ?
I would say this to Brett's point. I kind of echo his sentiment and not wanting to jinx my team, but also speaking and looking at things from an unbiased lens. We don't have any game film for Plumlee in spring ball. Granted, I know he's coming from the NFL side of things, but we've seen enough guys be hit or miss in that respect in terms of on-field production in the UFL. I can reference even back to was it Anthony Smith, I believe, last year with the Roughnecks, was picked up. What started as our starting QB at the very beginning of the season ended up being the worst dud in our QB room, and he was an ex-Raven. So I say all that to say, I think with Jalen, while his improvement was marginal, it was improvement in the right direction. What we saw last week in terms of his gameplay and his ability to command the offense, knowing what I've seen from him last year and giving him the benefit of the doubt in that, I think I could see him continuing to improve, and Columbus having the greatest stake of running the table to snag the spot. I think Birmingham is right there neck and neck with them, though. I mean, granted, like we touched on, they make one change essentially on a very small scale on the defensive side of the ball, and I think Birmingham's got it locked down, but it's that close.
Well, I look at the fact that which one of these teams can go 2-2. If they go 2-2, for all the 2-4 teams, it doesn't get them there.
No.
But can a 2-2 get, a 2-2 gets Dallas to 5-5. So how many teams that are 2-4 right now can go 3-1 the rest of the way out? I look at two teams besides, I see Dallas and I see Birmingham. One of those two is going to be the fourth team, because Columbus, Jalen McClendon, I think he's really had fumbling issues. I think St. Louis is going to bring the house on him again. And can he get rattled? Can he put the ball on the carpet? You've got the speed rushers coming from the outside. Can they slap at the ball? Who knows? But I think it's a tall task for Columbus with their remaining schedule to go 3-1. I see a 2-2 more likely for them, which doesn't get it done. So Louisville, I don't see them. So I say they're out. So that really leaves, in my mind, Birmingham and Dallas, because, it's Houston's remaining schedule. It's not easy to begin with, but now you're throwing a brand new quarterback in there that probably isn't going to have the time to get acclimated like he really needs to. And they have no time to waste as far as having him play at the top of his game. So it might be too little too late for Houston. So I really think that leaves Birmingham and Dallas for that fourth spot. Birmingham can definitely run the table, although I agree with you guys that those back-to-back games, it's tough to sweep. So Birmingham goes 1-1 against Columbus. If they get by Dallas, I think week 10 against Houston with all the with everything on the line for Birmingham,
right?
I think they would be in. So it comes down to Dallas and Birmingham for me. Who's going to get it done? I definitely think that Dallas has the offense that if they right the ship, Dallas can definitely get to 5-5. But right now, the way they're free falling, there was a presser today with Neuheisel, and they also had Austin Reed in the presser too, and they were both talking about, Coach Neuheisel, he likes challenging his players. It's always about his players, not what the other teams do. It's about what his team does. And he's really challenging Austin Reed to up his game and not always be looking for the home run, and learn that, a 10 or 12 yard scramble for a first down is just as effective as trying to heave it 35 yards down the field for the big bomb only to have it intercepted. So I don't know. I'm kind of anxious to see. If I'm a betting man, though, I think I'm sliding my chips to the middle of the table with Birmingham. I think Birmingham's is starting to find it a little bit, and there's no better time than now to get hot. So I'd probably go Birmingham 1, Dallas 2, Columbus 3, Houston 4, Louisville 5, as far as that final spot goes. So
I'm not sure. I need to look back over John David's timeline because it seems somewhere in the ambiguous past, a person from Houston did him dirty. This man has commented only 2 times in individual segments of our last 2 shows, and both times it's been to take a dig at my beloved H-Town squad. And I don't know where this is coming from, because last year in the fall, while I did jump on the little beat Notre Dame bandwagon a few times, the illustrious 2 men to my left, along with Eric and Chad, were the premier leaders of beating the old Irish upside the noggin. So I don't know why John David hates my boys so much here, but it's hurting my heart. And I feel like I need to extend the bridge peace offering, my friend. I don't know what we did to hurt
Olive
you.
Branch.
Yeah, something, because he apparently still likes Louisville Kings more than us. I don't know why. Maybe he's a Mike Rapoli fan like you. I'm not sure, Brett. Something's got to give.
And Mike, we trust.
So before we get into week 7, let's spend a few minutes. I know it's taboo, but I want to spend a little bit of time on it. And either one of you can go first. I don't care which one. But here is the attendance numbers through week 6. I guess if one of you want to give your thoughts first on attendance numbers, the only one I would interject on is, I saw Brett's post in Facebook last weekend, and I think you said, Brett, you said, DC, we've got a problem. So go ahead. Why don't one of you guys start and just kind of comment on what your feelings are about attendance?
Me and you talked about it privately. I've talked about it with Eric privately. I've talked about it with quite a few people from Birmingham privately, and I get people that message me all the time that's known me for years from UFL fans. And I think it's a lot of things. I commute every day, and it's just me and fur babies, but I'm paying $200 more a month right now just on fuel than what I was paying. Health insurance the last 4 or 5 years has went through the roof. Cost of living since 2020 has went through the roof. I deal with the general public, and I sell alternate housing to families, manufactured homes, modular homes. So I see it on a daily basis. There's so many people now that own stick-built homes that are trying to get out of debt and are buying manufactured homes. And it's just, I think a lot of people hoped and thought once the pandemic calmed down and everything calmed down that pricing would start easing back down on groceries and utilities and things of that nature, and they have not. And I think that's part of the attendance issue. I think the fact that the constant negativity, like before last year with the Players Association, and then you've got a new owner that comes in. Rock basically was non-existent for 2 years, and you've got some teams going, some teams coming, all these different rumors. And I think it's just kind of a perfect storm that I do think we can prevail and get ahead of this and improve, because, I run the largest UFL group on Facebook. We're into week 7, and I still get 20 or 30 requests a day. Their X page, their Facebook page, their Instagram, their following grows every day. The TV viewership has improved year over year compared to last year. So there are positive signs there, but yeah, there's, JJ had beat this drum and beat this drum and beat this drum, and to me, it's hard to fathom that you got 10 million or 8 million or however many people in the metro area of Houston, and you can't get 10 or 15,000 people in the stands. And I think if you do local marketing, you can. You absolutely can. I'm not saying you get 20 or 30, but could you average 15? Yeah. I think you can average 15 in every one of these markets. I just hope Rapoli takes a breath and understands that I think the current economy and the past of spring football, with the black eye that it totes around with it, that it's kind of a perfect storm right now. And let's try something a little more hands-on next year in all these markets, because Dallas and Houston are such huge-ass cities, so heavily populated. And football is still king in this country. You cannot tell me, and I'll go down fighting with this, you can't tell me you can't get 10, 15,000 people in the stands for every one of those Houston and Dallas games. I will never believe it. So, and even Mike touched on it today in his tweet. Hey, the writing's on the wall, Chief. You've got a good product. People are watching on TV. There's more interest in it now. People are starting to take it seriously. But hey, when you got all these people in these cities don't even know that the team's there, don't even know when they're playing, where they're playing, that shit's just unacceptable. And I think Mike will get it right, because, I mean, he says all the right things, and he's all in, and I got faith in the guy. But that's my take on it in every city.
KJ?
I would say, while I think there is some truth to what Brett has touched on with the economic stuff, I'll have to play devil's advocate on this end and say, I do think it falls more on the league and the local marketing points that have already been mentioned. The biggest, we've touched on it in a myriad of different factors, but in so many groups and people I've talked with, and this isn't just true for Houston and Dallas, there's other markets that this is applicable to as well. But one, I think you have to recognize that, which I think as Brett's already touched on, Rapoli's starting to realize this. To his credit, he's a very successful businessman. He's marketed plenty of products in the past and made successful business ventures and sustainable products and businesses out of those things he's pursued in the past. I think the difference you're seeing with Mike Rapoli, even if only on an infinitesimal level this season over someone like Dwayne Johnson, was that while both brought in a marketing brand power to some extent, the way that was utilized and how that was strategically addressed is different. Rapoli addresses it from the standpoint of any general business that you would operate, and understanding you have to get the knowledge base out there to the market for them to have demand for said product. I think for Dwayne, it was more of the mindset of, hey, I'm already super popular. I'm a WWE celeb. If my name's attached to something, people will come. And while that is true to some extent, that's not what builds sustainability. The biggest thing I think Mike is working through learning right now, contrary to some of his past businesses, aside from maybe the horse racing stint, which I think is more sports affiliated from a business standpoint, is that football is not a Smart Water. It's not a Gatorade. It's not a Coca-Cola. Those are generic products that you pick up off of a shelf. And as long as you can create an interest in the product from a elementary initial level, the demand will naturally increase as positive reviews occur from consumption. Football and any other entertainment sports thing is a relational business. You have to earn the trust of the market base for sustainability, for it to last and continue to grow in the positive direction. That's the reason we don't have continual increase in these metric attendance numbers, I think. And while there is some increase in viewership, I think that's been national marketing has increased over previous seasons. People aren't going to invest their money in something that's literally changing cohesively and holistically every season. The UFL has not had 2 seasons of back-to-back overarching continuity. That's what I think we hope to see in next year's season, pending there's no, switching and relocation of teams, is you start to earn the trust of your market base by showing, hey, we're a constant product. We're not changing things every year because one little thing here and there is unstable or not where we want it to be. they're willing to put in the effort to increase it and improve it rather than just throwing every new try and, scratch drawing in the trash can, that will build the trust of the market base and numbers will naturally increase. And to John's elementary point, yeah, Houston's at the bottom of the list because we're at the bottom of the league also in standings. Think about it. If your team sucks, you're not going to have good attendance every year either, unless you're in a sports town unicorn like Ed and his beloved St. Louis Battlehawks in the Kansas, Missouri area. That point aside,
that's the unfortunate thing about Louisville and Columbus. I brought up from the get-go. I would have loved with them being new franchises to both be two of the playoff teams. That would have been the ideal thing because Louisville would have probably averaged 13,000, 14,000. Columbus would have probably averaged 12,000 to 15,000, and we wouldn't be having this conversation because St. Louis does what they do, and then whoever does what they do. It just, that's another thing Mike's got to understand is fans support a winner, especially when it's a brand new team. I'm a Braves fan, I'm a Chicago Bears fan, I'm a Lakers fan, I'm an Alabama fan. But I've been that fan my whole life since 5 years old, and I'm 46 years old now. These are new leagues. These are new teams. You're not going to get that kind of loyalty over 1 or 2 seasons. And, that's unfortunate, but that's the case.
It's the nature of the beast, I think,
too. It is.
In my eyes, it's a 3-pronged deal, and Mike's already started to address one of those, which is listening to your fan base and making adjustments based on the overarching, sentiments that you get conveyed through communication through the existing fans you have. He's done that this season. If he continues to do that, it'll go well. The other two that I think just need to be minutely increased, we already touched on the local marketing side of things. I think understanding the geography and the actual specific location of where you have each team in each respective city also matters. The reason Dallas's numbers have gone down, besides the lack of there being local marketing, is the fact that they're not in the Dallas area anymore. Frisco is a solid hour north and commute outside of town. So you have to, if you're not going to market locally in the Frisco, Plano area, you have to convince the people in Dallas to truck up there to go to a game.
And they got to pay tolls and go through all that traffic.
That's my whole point. Exactly, Brett. You have to convince them to expend the money to get to the game. Secondly, for one like Houston, while, we're very close to downtown, Houston is a type of city in which we're not like other metropolises like St. Louis. And I think even this applies to Louisville, where their bar district is literally in their downtown area. Houston's is entirely separated in a completely different area, separated from downtown. When it's not Monday through Friday, and even after, you could argue 5 p.m., the downtown immediate area of Houston shuts down. It dies. So the main traffic flows and things you're seeing in the Houston and the commuter movement of people is not the way it is in other cities. And that's something you have to be cognizant of in how you market and strategically attack your, potential fan base.
But I'll say this. And I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Brett said. We talked about TV viewership is up. So that supports one of my arguments. When you look at attendance, lack of, or however you want to say it, does that necessarily mean that said fan doesn't like the UFL or doesn't like the Battlehawks or doesn't like Birmingham, right? Therefore I'm not going to a game? I don't think that's true. I think that in today's economy with gas, food, all that stuff, people are making the decision to stay home and not spend the money. Okay, I went to the Cardinals game on Monday night, baseball game, okay? And I've gone to baseball games. We work downtown St. Louis. So we love going to games Monday through Friday because we're already downtown. I'm literally 4 blocks from the Busch Stadium. So going to a game is easy, right? Well, last year, the year before, we would go down on a Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, you name it. We go to the brew house and we have a couple beers and we go. You pay for parking. You got to pay for parking, and depending on what the team is, If it's a no-name team, it's $25 to park. If it's the New York Yankees or someone like that, it's $40 to park. Okay. And then you go have a couple beers and maybe an appetizer. So now you've dropped another 40, 50 bucks. Then you go in the stadium and you got $8 waters and $8 hamburgers. And, you're bringing 3 little juniors with you that all want cotton candy and all this kind of stuff. So is it easier for parents to say, you know what, we're going to watch this at home and mom's going to pop some popcorn? Or do you want to drop a couple, $200-300 to head down to the field? Now, when I was going last year and the year before and the year before that on the weekdays, St. Louis was still getting 24 to 28,000 at their game on a weeknight. Well, when I went Monday night, they were playing the Milwaukee Brewers, which is a divisional game. I wouldn't say it's as big as a rival as the Cubs are, but it's a draw.
Right.
If there was 15,000 in that stadium, I'll kiss your ass. So that tells me that people are making a conscious effort, not because they don't like the Cardinals anymore.
Right.
Not because they don't like the Battlehawks anymore.
Just to pinch
They're making the conscious effort for their pocketbook right now and their family that they can't afford to go to the games. When we went Monday night to the game, the brew house that we normally went to have our couple beers was shut down. Several of the kiosks in the stadium that you used to be able to get gourmet food at shut down. Well, why is it shut down? Because the attendance sucks so bad that it's not profitable for them to be open. So is that a Cardinals problem? We're talking Friday night. St. Louis has Friday night lights, okay? And every year we've averaged 30-some thousand, pretty consistent, between 30 and 40, you name the whatever. So this last home game that we had, we were down to 20,000, okay? So now let me part the Red Sea and I'll tell you about the promotions that they've got geared up for Friday. We are playing Friday Night Lights primetime. They got Ricky Prohl bobblehead night. Okay, that's one thing. That's supposed to be a draw. But then we've also got Greatest Show on Turf. They've got Dick Vermeil, Marshall Faulk, Mike Marks, Mike Jones, Adam Timmerman, Ricky Prohl, all those guys coming in. Greatest Show on Turf, beloved Rams. So that's a draw, right? I looked at the attendance, I looked at the seating for Friday's game. I'm afraid we're not going to hit 15,000 for the game.
It's bad.
So you've got 2 promotions going on. You've got primetime game, Friday night, the place to be, things for the kids, and we're looking at maybe not even hitting 15,000. So did all these fans suddenly decide that they don't want to go see the Battlehawks play anymore? I don't buy it. I think it's the same thing as the Cardinals. Right now, the wallet is tight, and they're doing what they have to do to stay home and save money. And
everybody's buying flowers and cakes for their mom this weekend, Ed. So that's probably what it is. If you really want to get technical, or is it next weekend? I guess whichever one. This weekend too. I think this coming weekend.
My car that I drive normally took $24-25 to fill up with gas. When I drove to Louisville, it was costing me over $50. I paid for regular gas in Louisville. I paid $4.89 a gallon, and for diesel, it was almost $7 a gallon.
Phew. That's high.
And so I think it's real. So when places like Louisville and Columbus, they're still drawing their 10 to 12,000 fans. I think when the rest of us want to bag on and say, that's still not that great of attendance, to me, that's damn good.
No, I
You're
would
talking
agree for
about a
those
new
teams,
franchise, hasn't built their fan base yet. You got the economy that we're looking at right now, and they're still drawing that. I think the UFL's got to be happy as a lark for that. But it's going to be a real eye opener on Friday night. I tell you, it's too bad, but I don't think it has any reflection on anybody's fan base. I really don't. And
It's,
so when you have the trolls out there that want to sit there and continuously bag on the attendance figures in the UFL, I don't really think that's fair. I think if you're going to do that, go to the MLB, go to the baseball markets, go to and do a similar comparison. And if their attendance going down too, well, suddenly is it people don't like sports anymore? I don't think so.
right?
So I was getting close to having to do the rant sign again, but I won't. So let's go ahead and let's put up a preview of the Week 7 games. I tell you what, Brett, I loaded so much crap into the StreamYard this week. It's like, holy crap. It's not bad enough doing it on Monday and Tuesday, but then it's like Brett wakes up on Wednesdays. And then it's bang, 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 bang. So anyway, here's the Week 7 schedule for the UFL. The Aviators travel to the Battlehawks for Friday night prime time under the lights. Louisville goes to D.C. Saturday, they moved the game from 11:30. They moved it to 12:30. Well, it's a 1:30 out on the East Coast, but 12:30 Central Time. So that's a little bit better. Dallas travels to the Birmingham Stallions for primetime Saturday night game. And then Orlando Storm travels to Houston Sunday night for Mother's Day late afternoon tilt. Hopefully KJ will be credentialed for the Houston game, and Brett will be credentialed for the Birmingham game. So we'll have boots on the ground for those two games. So looking forward to that. But with that said, it's probably time to get into our predictions.
Real quick, Ed, did your nephew, has he picked these games yet?
Yeah. Remember I told him last week that he needed to get picks to me before the show. He started getting into that habit of giving me his picks right before the kickoff of the first game. So I called bullshit. So, wait a minute. I got a message from Eric. Let's see.
I can't speak for Brett. Did he send them?
I have them.
Good.
I have them. So
I can't speak for Brett, but I just checked my email. I am officially approved, so I will be repping the TBL podcast on Sunday evening in Houston.
Awesome. And Brett's been credentialed for every home game this year already, so I'm sure he'll be approved for this one too. So with that said, let's get into the first game, Friday Night Lights game. Columbus Aviators 2-4 travel to St. Louis, who's 4-2. St. Louis is 3.5-point favorites. The game will be on Fox, as it always is on a Friday night. I will go first. I think that McClendon's going to have a rough game. I think St. Louis defense is going to dial up his number, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple turnovers on his part. I've got St. Louis covering the 3.5 points. I got St. Louis. KJ?
Yeah, pretty much echo your sentiment there, Ed. Well, I think Columbus has a chance to get the upset here. I think the margin's just going to be too close to call there. And I could definitely see this one being decided by a field goal. So in that sense, I think I got to stick with St. Louis on it as well.
Brett?
Columbus is a tough, physical, gritty team. I love what Haley's doing with the play calling, but going into this game is that defensive front by St. Louis. And I really think Prohl is probably, now that Luis Perez has been in the system for 2 or 3 weeks, I think he's going to let Luis let it go. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Everybody's wish has come true. I got St. Louis by give me St. Louis by 13 Friday night.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see St. Louis maybe start slow the first half. They've kind of been notorious for doing that. But I think Perez, once he gets his sea legs, I look for a big second half. Eric has St. Louis also, so that is a clean sweep. We got Roberts taking St. Louis, and John David's taking St. Louis as well. Second game of the week, we've got Louisville 2-4 traveling to DC, who's 5-1. It's a Saturday 12:30 Fox game as well. DC has been established as 10-point favorites. That's a pretty big number. Who wants? I'll start off with Eric. Eric is taking DC. He's laying the points.
And unless DC just lays an egg and doesn't show up for this game, Louisville's weakness is their offensive line. You're playing DC. Their quarterback is, their original starter pissed off the coach with his sliding and not trying to make a first down, so he got cut and sent over to DC, and now you've got Chandler. It's probably, what is this? It's an early Saturday game. God, I hope for the league's sake and ratings and trying to get new fans, the game's close, but I just don't think it's going to be. I think DC's going to beat the dog shit out of them.
I was when I was with the Louisville Kings Corner, I also listened to their show, but I listened to several of the fans at the tailgate. You'd be amazed at how many times the Jason Bean slide at the 1-yard line was discussed. I mean, I heard it all over the tailgating lot. So if it was all over the tailgating lot 2 weeks later, you can about imagine how up in arms the fan base was when it actually happened. So, KJ, you're the last one for this game.
I mean, just chalk it up as another sweep. I agree with both of y'all. I don't see how Louisville can, even address this margin, let alone win the game. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So we've got John David saying DC by 1 million. We've got Roberts got DC as well. Let's move on to the next game. We got the Dallas Renegades in a free fall, 3 straight losses, 3-3. They are established, which shocks the shit out of me. 1.5-point favorites over Birmingham Stallions, who's 2-4. Saturday night primetime game, 7 o'clock. ESPN's got this one. Brett, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
Yeah. When we do these lines, when we do these picks Wednesday nights, most times I have no idea what the line is to the game because I just don't have the time or the money. I figured Birmingham be 3.5, 4.5-point favorite, so that line really does surprise me. But then I have to take a breath and remember this is not the Birmingham team I'm used to the previous 4 years, and yeah, I was proud of how the offense moved the ball against Orlando, because Orlando's got a solid defense, but still we left some points out on that field, and I'm gonna tell you, it sounds crazy. I think Dallas or Birmingham's a better team right now than Dallas. But Birmingham's got to get to the quarterback, and if they don't, it could be a long night at Protective Stadium. But I just, if AJ doesn't win this game Saturday night, he need to go ahead and, as I like to say, pack his shit. Give me Birmingham by 10. Because he will not be in Birmingham again next season if he doesn't win this game. I can assure you of that.
Eric agrees with you, Brett. He took Birmingham as well. KJ?
Yeah, I think Dallas is going to keep trending the direction they've been trending. And, well, I don't know what the final score will look like. 1.5 or whatever it is not really much to shake a stick at. So I think I definitely have to give the Stallions the nod on this one.
And I am going to go with Birmingham as well. The minute I saw that Dallas was favored in the game, I mean, I wrote Birmingham down on my sheet without even thinking about it. I'm with Brett. I thought that Birmingham would at least be the 3-point home favorite. But anyway, I'm going with Birmingham as well. John David's taking Birmingham. Robert is taking Dallas. So we got 3 clean sweeps heading into the final game. We got Orlando at 4-2 on a little free fall of their own with 2 straight losses. They are established as 4.5-point favorites over the 2-4 Houston Gamblers. It is a Mother's Day afternoon game at 5 o'clock on FS1. It's too bad it's FS1. But KJ, I'll let you go first on this one.
Little detailed. I don't know how many of our viewers or sports fans of the league as a whole are superstitious much, but usually when you get into sports, some people are. Little story I'll share with folks. This past weekend, while I did watch the game, I was on the road with my wife. We went to East Tennessee for a family friend's wedding. And as I was in the rush of packing up my belongings to load up the car to head to East Tennessee, I inadvertently snagged my watch on the railing of my backyard patio, completely yanked the wrist connection off the head of the watch, so I couldn't even wear it Friday night with the rest of my superfan ensemble. So I partially have to take the blame for us losing against Columbus because this bad boy gave me some good luck the first week I wore it, as many saw on Facebook. And since it was out of commission, I contribute that to our 1-possession differential in losing to Columbus. But I got the boy fixed at the jeweler this week. So we're back, baby. We're spinning that roulette wheel, and Houston is going to get the dub. It's the 7th week. 7 is a gambling number. I mean, you couldn't ask for the stars to align any more for Houston this week. And we got a new quarterback. Come on.
I should have kept track of KJ's weekly Houston pick to see how he's doing.
You only have to look at their record and flip one number in the opposite direction, because the one week I didn't pick them, they decided to prove me wrong. So
Brett, what do you got in this game?
4.5 with Anthony Beck is a lot. You know what I mean? You know that. But that being said, Houston has just had such a hell of a time with quarterbacks the last couple of years. If Plumlee had been there, if this was his 3rd week, I'd probably take Houston at 4.5. But I just can't Sunday, and it might come back to bite us. I mean, KJ wants to win. Obviously, he don't care nothing about the points. But I mean, I could absolutely see Orlando winning by 3. And KJ covering. You know, that's why you picked the spread. But I just, man, they just don't. Quarterback's such a huge position, and they just, you know, maybe I should have been from Missouri. Show me. You know, I want to see it first before I start picking Houston. So give me Orlando minus the 4.5, and Beck, don't screw this up.
So you took Houston, huh?
No, I took Orlando.
He said
Oh,
Orlando. He said Beck, don't screw this up, implying he's betting on Beck.
Yeah.
that's why I had to second guess you, Brett, because usually when you say don't screw this up, that means he can't win a game by more than 3. So
Oh no, Brett sees the writing on the wall. He knows if I get this win, I'm right there with him and Eric in the freaking competition of the overall rankings. That's why he doesn't want me to sneak up from the caboose. That's what's-
Well, I mean, honestly, it would help Birmingham. I'd like for Houston to win the game. I really would. And I mean, they're a gritty bunch, and it's set up perfect for them to hang in there with this game because of how Beck coaches. But I mean, they got a brand new quarterback.
Wouldn't it be a storybook ending, Brett, if we just help each other out every week until week 10 and face off at the end? It'd be beautiful. It'd be the beautiful ending to a UFL season.
Hey, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
So I'm taking a few seconds here just to I was figured I was going to share with the viewers a little picture of my haul. Am I allowed to do that?
I don't see why not.
Ed, you can do whatever you damn well please.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Ed is the man in charge.
I don't think Nike will cut our sponsorship if you do that, Ed.
I gotta get it. I gotta show you. I'm pretty damn proud of it. This doesn't
Well,
count.
hold on now. Who did you pick? Who did you pick in the game?
Yeah, we'll try to do that. Eric took Orlando, and I am taking Orlando as well.
Okay.
Here. Thank you,
Coach Beck was, I remember on the first when they were 3-0 and 4-0, he was talking about how they had to defend their home field and they had to stay undefeated at home. And that didn't work out too well. He lost 2 games in a row at home. So he's going to be, I think he's going to have his players' ear this week that they got to make up for lost time there.
I'd like to remind the viewers, just so they're aware, if their recent history and memory has evaded them, that aside from several questionable calls in a very, very close Louisville Kings game, the Gamblers are, outside of that one game, undefeated at home. Just saying.
I will say this, though. Orlando's best game this year by far was in Birmingham because I got the pleasure of watching that ass whooping.
Fair. Touche. Good counter.
So just for those of you that are curious as to whether I really did hit the distilleries, this doesn't count all my other stuff. This is just strictly bourbon and the wine I had to take Mama Bear and get on the last day we were there. But here was my haul.
And no, he did not contract out Smokey to or Bandit, I should say, to take it.
Four bottles of blend there. That's these two little bottles in the front that are blends. Those were Derby specials that they did just for the Derby, so people could take them with them to the Derby. So anyway, that was my take for the week. Or I guess
I thought you was going to share Smeagol's take.
That was pretty good.
So if you're visiting St. Louis and you want to get some free shots, just come by the tailgate and
I was telling Mama Bear that if Russia was to drop a nuclear bomb on the United States and they was to tell us that we all had to stay in our homes for the next year, between the wine bottles I got here and bourbon bottles I got, I would stay well hydrated, I believe, and never have to leave. So, oh, God. And then I was looking through some boxes last night because we when rummage sale coming up this weekend, and I found another box of football cards. So it's like, oh, when I retire at the end of this year, I'll be doing nothing but cataloging football cards while I'm sipping on bourbon and wine. So that's going to be the first year of my being retired. So
It's good to know you're diversifying your collectible portion of your portfolio, Ed. That's very smart.
But anyway, that wraps up another week of the Bottom Line Show. Thank you for everybody for tuning in, and thanks to all the Facebook pages that allow us to share each and every week. We're gonna, we've been talking a lot about it, and once we get by the UFL season, we start getting into the fall when college and the NFL gears back up. We're going to make a real concerted effort to really hit the YouTube channel and start raising the viewership a little bit on our YouTube. But really proud of our viewership that we've got going on Facebook. Just goes to show we've got a ton of faithful followers, and we really do appreciate that. But with that said, everybody enjoy some football this weekend. And until next week, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Central. Good evening, everybody. We'll see you again next Wednesday.
And that's the bottom line.